Chapter 929. Cole followed closely behind. Even though he was just a step away, he still seemed out of place. He would never be able to blend into their scenes and could only follow them like a demon. Xianxia followed beside Cole, and even though he belonged to the bright side, he still hid himself in the shadows. If not for that, Gu Mingming could have completely destroyed Cole. Xianxia knew that his choice had caused trouble for his mother. He was very apologetic, but he did not regret it. Even if one day his mother was sick of the shackles he had created and killed him, he would not regret it. After all, that evil person in everyone's eyes was the one who had woken him up from his long slumber, and trained him little by little when he could not even stand up due to his prolonged coma. Most of his memories were related to him. Having depended on each other for so long, Xianxia had already treated Cole as the most important person in his life. Moreover, he was indebted to him. He could only repay this debt himself. When Gu Mingming arrived at Sandy's place, Bode had already prepared lunch. Elvis handed Gu Mingming over to Leah, before bringing the three little ones with him to an empty space outside the tribe to begin their training. Gu Mingming felt that there was no need to rush. After all, Colin's hand had just been injured yesterday, shouldn't he rest for a few days? But Elvis and Colin both said that males were not so fragile, as long as Lee's splint was not removed, it would not be a big problem. Colin was more desperate than anyone else to raise his own abilities. After all, he was the strongest partner in Sandy's family. If he could be promoted again, the entire family's fighting power would rise by another level. Seeing that she could not stop them, Gu Mingming instructed Elvis to be careful and not to aggravate Colin's injuries. Sandy also told Colin not to be stubborn and then let them leave. Cole did not leave. Instead, it was as if he did not understand Sandy's family's wariness and disgust, as well as Gu Mingming's disregard. He just followed Gu Mingming quietly without saying or doing anything unnecessary. After having lunch at Sandy's place and chatting with her for a while, Gu Mingming prepared to return to the stone castle. After all, Sandy was pregnant and needed more rest. If she was here, it would be difficult for Sandy to relax and rest well, not to mention that Cole was following her. The moment she stepped out of Sandy's house, she felt a familiar beast pressure. Well, now there were not many people who dared to release their beast pressure in front of Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming chuckled and jumped down from Lee's arms. She took 2 steps forward, and when she looked up, the huge snake head was already inches away from her. Gu Mingming smiled innocently with curved eyebrows, but she did not hold back at all when she struck. With a slap on the lower jaw of the snake, the entire snake was flipped over and fell backward. With a loud bang, the ground shook a few times. Gu Mingming walked over and stepped on Wabiai's tail. She glared at Wabiai like a female bandit. "Hey little shit, you are asking for a beating again." Wabiai felt refreshed from the slap and his bones loosened up significantly. He tilted his head and transformed back into human form. Tutang, he pushed Gu Mingming's foot away from his ankle and said, "What do you mean by asking for a beating? I'm here to challenge you." Chapter 930. Wabiai ignored Gu Mingming's teasing. He dusted his hands and stood up. Then he glanced at Cole behind Gu Mingming and raised his brows. Why did you bring all kinds of trash back home? This kind of trash? And a crippled stray beast at that. How could you swallow him?" Gu Mingming held her forehead. "Are you blind? Which eye of yours saw me wanting him?" Wabiai nodded with a "you're right" look and agreed with her. "I think so too. With Snake setting your aesthetic standards, no matter what, you shouldn't be interested in this kind of defective product. Then what's wrong with him? He's sticking to you like glue. Doesn't your little wolf cub care about him?" Little wolf cub. Indeed, the 16-year-old Elvis could only be considered a little wolf cub in front of the 800-year-old Wabiai. But she was already feeling very awkward. She had become an old cow at the age of 19 to eat Elvis. Yet, Wabiai kept bringing up the issue of age to make things difficult for her. Gu Mingming pinched her brows and sighed. "Little shit, I feel that I was too light with my slap just now. Why don't we go for another 300 rounds? What do you say?" Wabiai did not know that he had stepped into Gu Mingming's minefield by calling her a little wolf. He just shrugged his shoulders and said, "Forget it, I'm used to being beaten up 300 times by you, so it's nothing much, but when your hand starts hurting, Snake will blame me for making you suffer." Gu Mingming's eyes widened. Gu Mingming grabbed Wabiai's forearm with both hands. She looked up at him. "But I really want to hit someone now. How do I break this?" Actually, she wanted to grab his shoulder. But the difference in height was really cruel and torturous. Wabiai pointed at Cole behind Gu Mingming. "Hit him. Isn't he a ready masochist?" Gu Mingming turned back to look at Cole. She thought that if she hit him, Gu Mingming might not be able to control herself and just slap him to death. But if she really slapped him to death, Qixin would definitely blame her. Then she would really lose this son of hers. Gu Mingming shook her head. It's too disgusting to slap a cockroach with my bare hands. I can't bear to do it. Wabiai laughed heartily and said, Why does it sound like you hit me because you think highly of me? Should I be grateful? Gu Mingming nodded in agreement. But Wabiai scoffed in disdain, before turning to walk back with Gu Mingming shoulder to shoulder. As they walked, he reported the situation of the Snake King Valley after the end of winter. In the past, with Snake around, no one dared to enter the Snake King Valley. And in the first winter after Snake left, some of the more daring orcs started plotting against the Snake King Valley. During winter, the snake beasts needed to hibernate and they were basically in a state where they were at the mercy of others. Hence those people sneaked into the Snake King Valley and found a few caves where the hibernating snake beasts lived. They wanted to eat the hibernating snake beasts to raise their own powers. Well, a few snake beasts did die, but those who sneaked in didn't make it out alive. Although the snake beast was in hibernation and could not actively attack, its venom was still present. After those fools ate the snake beast, they couldn't even take 3 steps before they bled from their 7 orifices and died on the spot. Chapter 931. Gu Mingming was taken aback. You massacred their tribe? Wabiai shook his head and looked at Gu Mingming as though she was a retard. If I had that much free time, I would have just massacred them. Why would I send the corpses? Gu Mingming agreed. Sending the corpses was a warning to them. She wanted to tell them that this was the consequence of attacking the Snake King Valley. If they were going to be killed, why would they send the corpses? Wasn't that the same as taking off one's pants to fart? Moreover, I came to look for you the moment winter ended. I went to St. Nazir first but came to no avail. Your family's paralyzed tiger told me you were here and I rushed here from St. Nazir. Look at the time, I don't have the time to go massacre some tribe. Wabiai said confidently with a look of disdain. Gu Mingming nodded in agreement. Then why was their tribe annihilated? Wabiai laughed dryly. They were afraid that the Snake King Valley would take revenge on them, so they disbanded their tribe and joined other tribes. But strangely, none of them went to St. Nazir or Sadr to seek refuge with you. Don't they know that I am no match for you and that being under you is the safest place? Gu Mingming shook her head with a chuckle. I am the saintess of the Snake King Valley. Seeking refuge with me, isn't that walking right into a trap? Wabiai laughed. That's right, you are the real demon king hiding behind the scenes. Gu Mingming rolled her eyes at Cole. She politely declined the title of Demon King. Not long after returning to the stone castle, Elvis brought his 3 sons back. Oakley came along with them as well. After Oakley entered, he first bowed to Gu Mingming. Then he looked at Wabiai. Great messenger, although Wabiai is your friend, shouldn't stray beasts keep a low profile when entering Sadr? Gu Mingming was speechless. She looked at Cole. Why don't you care about him? Oakley's expression did not change. Be it Cole or Wabiai, I can't stop them with my current abilities. But in any case, this is the messenger's tribe. Since we've come in, we shouldn't make a big fuss, right? Gu Mingming understood now. Although Cole was also a stray beast, he rarely appeared in public during his time in Sadr. Yesterday he had been running around with Gu Mingming and was also wearing Li's face. But today Wabiai had barged in and used his main body to strut around. Come to think of it, the appearance of the 5th-level stray snake must have caused quite a lot of controversy in Sadr. Gu Mingming shrugged. Wabiai is my friend. If it is not convenient for him to stay here, I will leave with him. Oakley frowned and said, Lord Messenger cannot leave for the time being. Gu Mingming frowned and said, Since when did you decide where I should go? Oakley replied in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, I naturally don't dare to restrict the great messenger's freedom, it's just that the people in the beast world have been in a state of panic recently. After knowing that the messenger is staying in Sadr temporarily, a few tribe leaders have already sent people over to seek an audience with you. To prevent unrest in the beast world, it was better for the great messenger to meet him. After all, the trouble was caused by the Snake King Valley. Gu Mingming raised her brows. She instantly understood. Chapter 932. The meeting with the visiting tribe leaders was set for 10 days later. Gu Mingming had wanted to meet them in the meeting room. After all, it was a discussion and it should be more formal. But the management team led by Oakley had unanimously rejected the idea. The reason was that stone tablet with the 36 stratagems carved on it was a sacred object worshipped by Sadr and could not be seen by outsiders. Gu Mingming did not know whether to laugh or cry. She had just casually memorized the text and her office had turned into an ancestral hall. Forget it, it's the same no matter where we meet. Gu Mingming did not insist, and so Oakley arranged for the meeting to be held on the afternoon of the 10th day. A complete white tiger skin was laid on the deity's altar, and on the back of the tiger skin was a high-backed stone chair. The stone chair was laid with a huge white rabbit skin. Gu Mingming sat lazily on the stone chair with her elbow propped against the back of the stone chair. She supported her chin with the back of her hand and looked down at the long wooden table that was hastily made below the deity's altar. There was a row of people sitting around the wooden table. Gu Mingming counted and there were 26 of them. They were all males in pairs. She guessed that they were the tribe leaders and witch doctors of the various tribes. Elvis and Leah stood on both sides of Gu Mingming with a faint, cold smile on their lips. The people sitting at this table were all old acquaintances. They had fought with Elvis when he was a vagabond, fallen into a well when Leah was in dire straits, killed each other when they were fighting for territory, and there were also a few from the tribes near Saint Nazaire. Yeah, there were even more conflicts. To think that there would be a day when these people could sit at the same table quietly. The scene was really unique. Sitting on the high seat, Gu Mingming could clearly see the minute expressions on everyone's faces. Thanks to Wang Xiaoxin, even though they had tried their best to suppress their uneasiness, Gu Mingming could still tell that they were not confident about her taking in those tribesmen. They all knew that Gu Mingming had inherited all of Snake's abilities and memories, but who knew if she had also inherited his personality? He was a person who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Gu Mingming chuckled and gave Oakley a look. Oakley, who was standing at the side of the altar, took a step forward and spoke first. Various leaders and witch doctors have come from afar. Oakley, as the city lord of Sauder, welcomes all of you. Actually, the people of the beast world were really not good at nor were they used to such elaborate formalities. As such, after Oakley finished his welcome speech, everyone looked at each other and did not know how to respond. Wabiai leisurely walked out from the shade. Due to his identity, he did not go up to the altar. Instead, he stood beside Oakley and leaned against the edge of the altar. Before he could speak, the 26 people who were sitting at the original spot stood up as though someone had stepped on a power source. They looked at Wabiai with a guarded stance. Wabiai snorted in disdain. What's the point of saying such useless things? If you want the Snake King Valley to let you go, what do you intend to use in exchange? Everyone was taken aback before instinctively looking at Gu Mingming. After all, she was the one with the highest authority here. Even Wabiai had to act according to her wishes. Only when she gave the order would the final decision be made. Chapter 933. The 26 of them looked at each other. They all had something to say but didn't have the guts to do so. Elvis sneered. I've never seen you cower before when you were fighting for your lives, but now you sound like you're being strangled by someone? Did you come all the way here just to pretend to be mute? Elvis's words agitated the 26 of them. No matter where they came from, they were all the same. Provocation was the most unbearable. Otherwise, the Northeast's "what are you looking at?" would not have become a popular phrase for a fight. One of the 26 looked up and spoke first. Mighty Messenger, we did take in some new tribesmen. But they are not the ones who went to ambush the Snake King Valley. They are innocent. Before Gu Mingming could speak, Leah whispered into her ear. The one who spoke is Leonard, the leader of the Zacharias tribe. He is a 4th-level tiger beast. The one standing beside him is called Nick. He is a witch doctor and a 2nd-level armadillo. They are quite far from Saint Nazaire and have not had many encounters with us. But they are closer to Peter's territory. Yet they have never had any females snatched from them. Clearly they are very powerful. Gu Mingming nodded to indicate that she understood. Then, without any special expression on his face, he maintained a casual look and said, I'm innocent. What kind of place is the Snake King Valley? How can a few people withstand the harsh cold and find their way to the entrance in such a cold season? Would you believe me if I told you? Everyone's heart skipped a beat. The truth was they didn't believe it. Not to mention finding the entrance, just venturing out during winter was a matter of life and death. Otherwise, why would winter be called the season of death? In this kind of weather, it was impossible to find the mysterious entrance. So, the only explanation was that they had planned this beforehand. They had already scouted out the path to the Snake King Valley and then lay in ambush nearby. They would wait for 3 to 5 days for the cold to descend, ensuring that all the snake beasts were hibernating before entering. And such an operation could not be carried out without external help. In other words, the few males who entered were the suicide squad of the tribe. If they succeeded, the tribe's power would increase greatly. And the Snake King Valley had tens of thousands of snakes. Who would know if a few were missing? If they failed, the few of them would die on the spot. The rest would just have to split up and say that they were innocent and they could stay out of this. To put it bluntly, it was a huge gamble. The price of victory or defeat was the rise of the tribe or the fall of the tribe. Regardless of the era, there were always gamblers. This gambler was not only the members of the Dare to Die team, but also everyone in their tribe. Gu Mingming was such a dazzling presence in the beast world that it was too easy to find her. Wasn't Fei Rui the best example? But everyone obviously knew that she was the sacred maiden of the Serpent King Valley, but not a single one of them came to inform her, wasn't it? Now that things have come to this, you want to use an excuse of innocent to settle the matter? Did he really treat Gu Mingming as a fool? The atmosphere instantly turned solemn. Gu Mingming could clearly see fear on the faces of the 26 people. It had nothing to do with whether she had revealed her Beast King's aura, it could only be said that they had a guilty conscience. Chapter 934. The 26 of them looked at each other, as if they were weighing whether their sincerity was sufficient. The first to speak was always more stressful. The atmosphere instantly became rather stifling. Nothing had happened and Gu Mingming was very sure that everyone present, including herself, was not emitting any pressure. But the atmosphere was like the examination hall during the high school examinations, quiet and strange. Occasionally, a gust of wind blew past, but it was as if it was plucking at the taut heartstrings, causing them to vibrate intensely as if they could snap at any time. I am Hanston, the leader of Franks, a third-level rhinoceros orc. One of them stood out and spoke first. He had a head of gray short hair that did not look old but was extremely fashionable. He was only wearing a leopard print hide, revealing his well-built body. His face was suspiciously dark red as he stared straight at Gu Mingming, as if trying to convey a sense of confidence. His fists were clenched tightly by his sides, as if he was not used to such an occasion. I am willing to offer all my loyalty to the messenger and become your partner. This way, Franks will be like Saint Nazir, a tribe belonging to the great messenger. Gu Mingming was taken aback. Before she could react, the person standing beside Hanston also stood out and said, I am Joshua, the witch doctor of Franks, a first-level orc from the ape tribe. I am willing to offer my loyalty to the great messenger together with the leader, representing that Franks will completely submit to the great messenger without any disloyalty. Gu Mingming was just about to wave her hands to say there was no need, when Leah laughed softly. That laughter was cold and carried a hint of sarcasm. A first-level orc dares to propose a mating request to the messenger of the beast deity? Ha! Are you really not afraid of blaspheming the beast deity? Joshua's face turned red from Lee's words, but he refused to lower his head. He continued to look straight at Leah and said, I know I am not strong enough, but I will work hard to improve myself and become a male worthy of the great messenger. Perhaps the great envoy doesn't remember me, but I remember the great envoy. From the first time I saw the great messenger, I have already deeply admired you. Please give me a chance to become your tribesman. Gu Mingming? When did she attract such a peach blossom? Why did she not have any impression of him? Lord Envoy. Joshua was not discouraged. Although he was the only first-level orc among everyone present, he was still too weak compared to the competitors who did not even have the right to enter the arena, much less those perverts around Gu Mingming. But even so, he did not want to give up the chance to confess, because he really liked Gu Mingming. So Joshua took a step forward and continued, Francis and Saint Nazir share a border. Chapter 935. Ha! Elvis, who had remained silent all this while, suddenly laughed. The bloodlust and coldness that had not been shown for a long time permeated every cell in the air. Although it was just a simple sound, it sent chills down everyone's spines. They were as silent as cicadas in winter, not daring to say another word. They just looked at Elvis quietly, waiting for him to continue. After all, this Saint Nazir tribe leader and the witch doctor beside him had already swept through many tribes when they were third level. Relying on their perfect teamwork and reckless fighting style, they had forced many people to suffer losses from them. After the arrival of the messenger of the beast deity, these two seemed to have disappeared without a trace and did not commit any bloody killings anymore. However, their past great achievements were still fresh in people's memories. Today, one of them was a 5th level and the other a 4th level. That made them even more of a Yama that no one dared to provoke. Elvis stretched his neck to the left. Those who were familiar with him knew that this was a sign that he was about to attack. This time no one dared to speak. If Saint Nazir wants territory, we don't need Xiaoming to mate. Elvis took half a step forward like a god of war looking down on everyone. The sunlight shone on his face, but no one dared to lift their heads to look at his facial features. They could only feel their bodies trembling and crazily wanted to kneel down and beg for mercy. Seizing by force is my way of doing things. A faint smile had already appeared on Li's face. That smile was one that everyone was all too familiar with. Before he met Gu Mingming, how many years had this smile been on his face? The more angered he was to the point of wanting to kill someone, the more elegant and charming his smile would be. His voice was also filled with coldness. That light sentence made the atmosphere of the entire scene drop by quite a bit. Has Francis' water source problem been solved? If I don't give you water during this dry season, I wonder how long you guys can last. Leah said these words with a concerned expression, stabbing at the weakest spot of the other party with all his might. Every stab did not draw blood, but he had a firm grasp on the other party's lifeline. When your tribesmen either leave or die due to lack of water, do you think there will be anyone who dares to fight with Saint Nazir for Francis' current territory? Hanston and Joshua were both speechless. Yes, they had no water. In the past it was still all right when everyone was in a drought, but last year Saint Nazir started to release water for everyone. That was the happiest dry season that Frank had experienced in 1,000 years. If Leah cut off Francis' water supply, the people in the tribe would definitely leave, because as long as they went to another tribe, they would be able to drink the water provided by Saint Nazir again. By then Franks would be doomed. Naturally, no one would dare to fight with Saint Nazir for the territory. After all, who wouldn't be afraid that the next tribe to have their water cut off? Li's gaze swept across the crowd below the stage and he chuckled. Some tribes lack water, some lack food, some tribes' last female has already been dead for half a year, some tribes' territories have been used by the stray beasts as their food source during the winter season all year round, suffering attacks year after year without any ability to retaliate. TSK. Aren't you ashamed to use such a family as dowry to talk about mating with my Meng Meng? Li's words silenced the others who had wanted to mention mating. No one dared to step forward. Chapter 936. Soul of the Forest. Gu Mingming savored these 4 words and chuckled. Of course I can. I have already said that I will grant a wish to anyone who can help me obtain the 5 treasures. If your wish is for me to not pursue the matter, I can agree to it now. All right, it's a deal. Leonard bowed to Gu Mingming and said, Then, I will go back to make some preparations and await the great messenger's arrival at Zacharias. Gu Mingming chuckled and nodded in agreement. Then Leonard and Nick turned to leave. Gu Mingming looked at the other 24 people. They were all clearly stunned by the soul of the forest's appearance. Compared to the soul of the forest, their sincerity clearly did not carry enough weight. Gu Mingming didn't want to make things difficult for them, so she stretched and stood up. I'm tired. You and, Great Messenger, please go and rest first. I will handle the remaining matters and give you and Wabi a satisfactory reply. Oakley spoke first. Gu Mingming thought for a moment and didn't reject him. She only responded with a before allowing Elvis to carry her away. Wabi had no patience for such friendly negotiations. If Gu Mingming wasn't sitting here, he wouldn't have bothered to listen to their nonsense. Now that Gu Mingming had left, he naturally followed suit. Back at the stone castle, Leah said to Elvis, Zacharias is near the Stray Beast Base Camp. We should stay at the Stray Beast Base Camp, in case there are any overconfident fellows trying to impress Mingming with their presence. Elvis nodded. That's what I thought too. Gu Mingming asked Wabi, Little shit, are you still going to accompany me this time? Wabi nodded. The previous kiss of the ocean was filled with poisonous fog and swamps. Who knows what will happen this time? If I know you are going to take the risk, I will definitely accompany you. Otherwise, how am I going to answer to him if anything happens to you? Gu Mingming chuckled and asked, But don't you have to return to the Snake King Valley to explain what happened this time? After all, this is the first time in 1,000 years that an outsider has infiltrated the valley and killed the people of the Snake King Valley. No matter what, this is a big matter. Wabi stared coldly at Gu Mingming. He seemed to have thought for a moment before nodding his head lazily in annoyance. Yeah, I have to go back and inform them. Gu Mingming said, Then you should go and settle the matters of the Snake King Valley first. After all, the Snake King Valley and Zacharias are not in the same direction. Wabi rolled his eyes and rapped Gu Mingming's head. Those who want to help you are all on the way. Those who value you are not busy day or night. Gu Mingming was really touched by Wabi. She pounced forward and hugged him, looking up at him. Little shit, you have really become intelligent. You can even speak like a human. Scram. Wabi roared. I'm kind enough to be your bodyguard. How dare you say that about me? Gu Mingming giggled. All right. Don't be angry. I know you are a warm guy. Wabi squinted at Gu Mengmeng for 2 seconds. Then he roared, don't think that I don't know you are scolding me in a roundabout way just because you are smiling. A warm guy is definitely not saying anything nice. Can't you say anything nice about me? Gu Mengmeng shrugged helplessly. After all, a warm guy, in the eyes of males was equivalent to a green tea bitch, in the eyes of females. So Wabi's words were not wrong. But little shit, Gu Mengmeng was sincerely praising you this time. Aside from the topic, Wabi, Gu Mengmeng, I treat you as a friend. Why are you treating me as a warm guy? Gu Mengmeng shrugged helplessly. I am really not scolding you this time. Why don't you believe me? Chapter 937. In the meeting room, Cole sat casually and lazily on the chair that belonged to Gu Mengmeng. His large hands gently caressed the beast's skin on the back of the chair, with a faint smile on his lips. Oakley stood at the spot that belonged to him at the bottom of the stairs. No matter if it was Gu Mengmeng or Cole sitting on the stone chair, he would still stand there, no difference. You did very well, I am very satisfied. As a reward, once Agu leaves this place you can see your bloom. Cole's gaze lingered on the armrest of the stone chair, as if he could see Gu Mengmeng's adorable look when she used her elbow to support herself in boredom. His lips curled up slightly and even Oakley became more pleasing to the eye. You don't have to look so glum, I did not ask you to do anything evil. I just want you to put in more effort when you are assisting Agu. By pushing you to the peak of power, you will be able to protect that little snake of yours better, right? Oakley did not have any expression on his face, he tried his best to look unperturbed. He knew that Cole was too good at manipulating people's hearts, he could not reveal more information to Cole. But he tried his best to control his expression, but neglected the fact that the veins on his tightly clenched fists were popping out. How could anyone believe the nonchalance on his face? Cole did not expose him, he just enjoyed Oakley's desperate stubbornness. He chuckled as if he was a cat playing with a mouse. I have one thing I don't understand. Oakley looked up at Cole. You spent so much effort to lure the mighty messenger to solder, just to pretend to be Leah for a day? Cole was in an extremely good mood when he thought of the day he pretended to be Leah. His Agu did not confuse him with that useless brother, she saw through him with one look. Rather than saying that he pretended to be Leah that day, it would be better to say that it was the day he openly stayed by Agu's side. Although Agu ignored him coldly, they still shared many memories, didn't they? Thinking of this, Cole's mood became even better. Hence, he answered Oakley's question exceptionally generously. Don't you feel that when the person you like comes to your side on his own accord, it is a joyous thing? Agu would gradually get used to living with me. If I suddenly disappeared one day, she wouldn't be used to it. So, I have to be the most special person in her life. Since that's the case, you're letting her go just like that? Oakley was referring to the search for the soul of the forest. Cole's gaze deepened and the smile on his lips deepened. I want to be her savior, the only one she can rely on in hell. So the prerequisite was that she had to fall into hell first. If there is no hell, I can only create one for her. Hope slowly accumulates and in the blink of an eye, it is shattered. I can almost imagine her look of despair. How distressing. Cole said those cruel words with a look of enjoyment. His entire body was emitting an evil aura, causing Oakley to frown tightly. Alright, you just have to work hard for Agu and push Solder to the top of the world. I want my Agu to stand at the top of the world and trample everything under her feet. And you must be her stepping stone. Cole stood up and walked towards Oakley step by step. He placed his hand on Oakley's shoulder and exerted a little force, causing Oakley to kneel down at his feet. Cole seemed to be very satisfied as his lips curled into a smile. As long as you are loyal to Agu, you and your little snake will be fine. Otherwise, I will not forgive anyone who causes trouble for Agu. In this world, I am the only one who can make her unhappy. Aside from the topic, let's talk about a joke. You the Great was controlling the flood. He passed by the house 3 times but did not enter. Did you think that nothing would happen if he did not enter the house? Such a naive little cutie. Many things could happen without entering the house. You the Great's wife looked forward to her husband's return every day. In the end, she became a rock waiting for her husband, and Sun Wukong jumped out from the cracks of the rock. You the Great used the ultimate magical weapon, the godly sea-calming needle, to control the flood. And the godly sea-calming needle was also known as the golden cudgel. Only Sun Wukong could wield the golden cudgel, and it only listened to Sun Wukong. From this, one could conclude that You the Great was Sun Wukong's father. Chapter 938. Before Gu Mengmeng left, she went to see Sandy. Sandy's tummy was getting bigger by the day and it was getting more and more inconvenient for her to move around. Gu Mingming had wanted to wait for Sandy to finish giving birth before setting off, but it would be the dry season by then and any movement would become torture for Wabiai. He had to return to the Snake King Valley to recuperate. Although she really didn't need a bodyguard now as no one could do anything to her even if she ran around on her own. But towards Wabiai, apart from the friendship between friends, she also felt a sense of guilt. After all, she was the one who had snatched away the most important person he had relied on for 800 years. So she had the responsibility to comfort his boring life. Moreover, Gu Mingming had already decided that she would never abandon the three little ones. Thinking back to the incident at the bottom of the ocean, Gu Mingming felt more at ease with Wabiai by her side. After all, if anything happened, Elvis would definitely protect her first. By then, there would be a gap in the safety of the three little ones and it would be easy for others to take advantage of it. So Wabiai could fill this gap with his presence. Moreover, Cole had already promised not to find trouble with Sandy, so Gu Mingming decided not to wait for Sandy to give birth. She would look for the soul of the forest now. It would be best if she could finish it quickly and return before Sandy gave birth. Once Sandy heard that Gu Mingming was leaving, she hugged Gu Mingming and started crying. Gu Mingming knew that a pregnant woman's emotions would fluctuate greatly, so she patiently coaxed Sandy for a long time. In the end, she used her trump card and promised to bring back some delicious fruits for her. Sandy, the little foodie, blinked her big bright eyes and pushed Gu Mingming out of the door saying, "Come back quickly." Once they were out of solder, Gu Mingming remained in Elvis's arms. Shaking her head in exasperation, Gu Mingming said, "Sigh, I feel very sad now." Elvis looked at her smiling face and could not feel any sadness at all, but he still gave her face. Expressing his inquiry. Gu Mingming said, "Sandy is my best friend, but in her eyes, I am not even comparable to a fruit." At first, she hugged me tightly and refused to let go. But once she heard that there was food, she actually pushed me out. I'm starting to doubt my own worth. Am I not even comparable to a fruit? Elvis chuckled. He could not understand the friendship between females. Moreover, he was unwilling to waste time thinking about what other females were thinking, so he just kissed Gu Mingming's little head and said, "You are the most precious, nothing can be compared to you." Gu Mingming smiled sweetly and snuggled into Elvis's arms. Wabiai cleared his throat and inched closer to Gu Mingming. He said awkwardly, have you gone to see your father recently? Did you ask me anything?" Gu Mingming knew that Wabiai was asking about sending her to Snake's side, so she nodded and said, "Yeah, I went to ask once after we parted ways, but my father's attitude was I can't tell you. It's not the right time to switch the power source yet, just wait a little longer. Anyway, I still remember your request, I will help you ask whenever I see my father." Wabiai pursed his lips and looked at Gu Mingming in silence for a long while. Then he said, "You are unfilial." Gu Mingming looked at Wabiai in bewilderment. She did not know where his conclusion came from. Wabiai said, "You could only stay in the cave for the entire winter without doing anything, yet you only went to see your father once. If you are not unfilial, then what is?" Digression. Based on the above argument, we can continue to elaborate. There is a joke on the internet about Sun Wukong saying that monkeys are monkeys after all. After staying in the immortal peach garden, the 7 fairies only went to eat peaches. However, have you all forgotten that the 7 fairies are the same color as the Calabash brothers, and there are exactly 7 of them? After the 7 Calabash brothers fused together, they became a stone mountain, and Sun Wukong jumped out from the cracks in the stone. So the conclusion is that Sun Wukong is the Calabash brothers' father. Then, the Calabash brothers' father is Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong's father is Yu the Great. Do you still think that it was a coincidence that the old man sowed the seeds of the Calabash brothers? Chapter 939. Gu Mingming rolled her eyes. What else could she not understand? Wabiai merely wanted her to visit the beast deity a few more times and ask him when he could send him to Snake's side. But understanding was one thing. Gu Mingming felt that when Wabiai came knocking on her door, she would feel uncomfortable if she didn't rebuke him. So he cleared his throat and said, "Sigh, my old man is the Lord Beast God, he must be very busy. Do you think everyone in the world is as idle as you? Your greatest joy is looking for a beating, and your greatest skill is pretending to be shit?" Wabiai was rendered speechless by Gu Mingming's retort. He couldn't think of any rebuttal and just waved his hands. "If you are unfilial anyway." Gu Mingming twitched her lips and said, "Then tell me, how many times have you accompanied your father in the past 800 years? If you're more than me, I'll admit that you're filial." Wabiai looked at Gu Mingming as though she was an idiot. Why should I be filial? Gu Mingming snorted. You're not filial yourself and you're asking me to be filial? Wabiai nodded sincerely and said, yes, my lack of filial piety has not affected you. But your lack of filial piety has affected me. You are so shameless and self-righteous. Gu Mingming looked at Wabiai with an amused and angry expression. Wabiai didn't mind. He shrugged his shoulders and said, it's still a few days before we reach Zacharias. Since there's nothing much to do, go to sleep. Gu Mingming straightened her neck and said, this is my first time bringing my son out, how can I sleep? I'm not sleeping. Wabiai narrowed his eyes and said with a dark face, are you going to sleep or not? If you don't sleep, I'll eat your son. Gu Mingming gave him a I don't believe you smile and said, go ahead and eat them. After you eat them, I will tell Snake that you bullied me and forced me into a dead end. Let's see how you will face him in the future. Aren't you shameless? Wabiai pointed at Gu Mingming's nose and stomped his foot. But Gu Mingming smiled like the cute and charming antagonist in Pokemon, Team Rocket. Aha, don't you know? Mr. Kong had said many years ago that only women and vile people were difficult to raise. A woman's shamelessness is also a kind of charm. Wabiai gritted his teeth, wishing he could strangle Gu Mingming to death. He opened and closed his hands around Gu Mingming's neck, but he could not bring himself to strangle it. Gu Mingming was completely unafraid of Wabiai's threat. Not only did she not hide, she even deliberately stuck out her neck and asked with a grin, are you going to pinch me or not? If you want to pinch me, you have to be quick. It's tiring to stretch like this. Wabiai's face turned green with anger. Shaking his hands, he straightened his neck and said, you think I'll do it just because you want me to? How embarrassing would that be for me? Gu Mingming laughed heartily and patted Wabiai's shoulder. Wabiai was sent flying far away and only came to a stop after flying 7 to 8 steps. On the other hand, Gu Mingming did not feel any sense of guilt from beating someone up. She just smiled and dusted off her hands, saying, little shit is really different after becoming a demon. He even knows how to save his face. Ah. Gu Mingming. Wabiai rolled to his feet and chased after her. He raised his hand to hit Gu Mingming, but Gu Mingming just smiled at him with a hit me if you have the guts attitude. Wabiai was so angry that he swung his fists at the air, but ultimately did not land a punch on Gu Mingming. Initially, Elvis would still guard against Wabiai's mischief, fearing that Gu Mingming would really attack her. But after so many times, Elvis no longer dared to even lift his eyelids at Wabiai. He just focused on watching Gu Mingming pranking him, his face filled with adoration. Digression. Chapter 940. It was the first time the three little ones had gone on such a long journey with Gu Mingming and they could not control their excitement. They often ran far away before running back. They were drenched in sweat but never tired. Elvis hugged Gu Mingming while Wabiai kept arguing with her. So Leah was in charge of watching over the three little ones in case anything happened to them. This family was exceptionally harmonious. During dinner, Elvis accompanied Gu Mingming while Leah prepared the cooking utensils. Wabiai went hunting and the three little ones insisted on tagging along. Wabiai did not reject them. When they returned, the three little ones became Wabiai's lobbyists. They pestered Gu Mingming to go to sleep and said how pitiful Wabiai was. Gu Mingming felt rather helpless. She hugged Xianhu who was in her arms and asked, but if Mummy falls asleep, it will be at least another 2 to 3 days. Then I will miss out on admiring the scenery along the way with you guys. Xianhu shook his head. He was not as eloquent as Jianghu and could not come up with all sorts of high-sounding excuses. He could only plead, Mummy, just sleep, sleep. Jianghu hung onto Gu Mingming's arm and shook her vigorously. Mummy, we are already very happy that you are willing to bring us along. As long as we can accompany Mummy, all the scenery will be beautiful and pleasant. Moreover, we don't know what kind of danger we will encounter on this trip to find the soul of the forest. You should at least go and greet Grandpa in advance and see if Grandpa has any other cheats he can give you. Just in case you are caught unprepared. Gu Mingming really did not know what benefits Wabiai had given to the three little ones for them to speak up for him so wholeheartedly. But Jiaoyu's words made sense. The kiss of the beast deity that her lonely father had given her had been a huge part of the success of her previous trip to find the kiss of the ocean. Otherwise, she would be a useless baby the moment she entered the water. Not to mention fighting, even staying alive would be a problem. This time, she did not know what she was going to face. Perhaps she should really go and get some pocket money. Heaving a sigh of relief, Gu Mingming nodded. All right, I understand. Mummy will go and ask Grandpa if there is anything I need to take note of. But while I am going to look for Grandpa, the three of you must behave yourselves. Don't make Father Beast and Father Leah angry, understand? Jianghu nodded heavily and said, Mother, don't worry. We are not fools and will not provoke a lunatic. Gu Mingming face-bombed and asked the heavens speechlessly, Can the image of a husband in his son's heart still be salvaged? Elvis did not seem to take Jianghu's words to heart. No, it was not as if he really did not take it to heart. In this world he only cared about how Gu Mingming saw and thought of him. As for the others, even if they were his biological sons, he did not care. Chapter 941. The white fog dispersed, revealing a two-seater wooden chair in the shade. The beast deity sat there with his eyes closed and his head raised, just like an artistic youth sunbathing in the park. Gu Mingming felt very awkward at first to call him daddy when facing such a face, but as time went by, she got used to it. Daddy, Gu Mingming sat beside the beast deity and smiled at him. The beast deity seemed to have known that Gu Mingming was back and answered in a daze, My daughter is back. Gu Mingming glanced sideways at the beast deity and asked, You look very tired. The beast deity smiled and shook his head, saying, Nothing much, I just went to listen to the holy teachings. In the words of your world, it's called a meeting and listening to the leader's speech. Gu Mingming chuckled and said, Then you should be tired. It's nothing, having my daughter watching television with me is enough to relieve my tiredness. With that, he smiled and raised his hand to wave, but suddenly stopped and said, I will give you your pocket money after watching television. Gu Mingming really felt that she was an unfilial daughter. It seemed like she did not even need to say anything for the lonely old man in her house to know that she was back to live off his parents. In the future, should she come back to visit when she was free? After all, she had called him daddy for so long. Did she really want to be a strawberry who only returned home when she was short of money? The beast deity nodded and then waved his hand, dispersing the white fog in front of them. The scene was the canteen of Gu Mingming's previous university. Snake pulled Gu Mingming to sit by the window in the canteen and the two of them faced the window and sat side by side. This place was originally a long table for 4 people to sit at, but Snakel used his privileges to mark it out as his exclusive dining spot. Naturally, the food he ate was not the same as the cafeteria's cafeteria, but exquisite dishes prepared by a professional chef in a separate kitchen. Gu Mingming was speechless and turned to look at Snake, asking, You don't even eat the canteen's food, why did you come to the canteen? You can just go to the canteen outside to eat. Snakel chuckled as he elegantly used his left hand to place the food in front of him into his mouth. He chewed and swallowed before replying to Gu Mingming's question, This is the fastest way to let everyone know you belong to me. Gu Mingming lowered her head to look at her left hand, which was still in Snake's grasp. Let go of me first. Snake raised an eyebrow and asked, Why? It's not convenient to eat like this. Snake asked, Don't you always use your right hand? Gu Mingming looked at the clock on the wall. In less than 5 minutes, there would be students coming in one after another to eat. She would not be able to explain herself if she was held by Snake like this. Chapter 942. Snake didn't let go, instead he leaned closer to Gu Mingming and admired her blushing face with narrowed eyes. You eat and live with me, go to school and go home with me every day. Who would believe that you aren't my girlfriend? Moreover, I stood up for you so openly today. I'm afraid it's too late for you to say that we are just boss and subordinate now. Gu Mingming was speechless for a moment. Snake continued. Moreover, you have the obligation to keep my identity as the CEO of Monsur a secret and take care of me. What else is more suitable than being my girlfriend? Instead of explaining and making things worse, why not just acknowledge this identity? Isn't that better? Moreover, the love letter you sent me yesterday morning must have already spread throughout the entire school. Confessing yesterday and dumping me today, TSK Tuming, aren't you too fickle? Gu Mingming's face was extremely red. She didn't know if it was because she was angry or because Snake was leaning too close to her. She shifted her body backwards and fell onto the ground. Looking up, her eyes were filled with tears. She didn't know if it was from pain or grievance. When I signed the contract, I clearly said that I am doing an internship. It's not business time when school is in session. You can't force me to pretend to be a couple with you in school. Seeing her fall made Snake's heart ache. He pulled her back into his arms with a huge hand. With a gloomy expression he said, Who said we are going to pretend to be a couple? I really want you to be my girlfriend. Gu Mingming shook her head. I refuse. I don't like you. Say that again. Snake's face darkened. His entire body emitted an intense pressure. He was obviously angered by Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming wanted to hide even more, but Snake refused to give her any space to hide. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been involved in those weird scandals. Although I am poor, I have always been a pure and innocent girl. Because of you, everyone in school is now saying that I am a concubine. I beg you, don't harm me anymore. Can you just pretend that you don't know me in school? No. He didn't want to be apart from her for even a second. He would feel as if he had lost her the moment he did not see her. Pretending not to know each other in school? Then let's just tear down the school. There's no point in the school's existence. Gu Mingming could already vaguely hear people queuing outside the canteen. Once the doors opened, everyone would see her and Snake. Panicking, Gu Mingming blurted out, "Then I will resign. I quit." Snake's face darkened even further. "Can you afford the penalty fee?" Gu Mingming clenched her teeth and said, "At most, I will sell my kidney. I will definitely compensate you for the breach of contract." Hearing that she was willing to hurt herself just to leave him, Snake was so angry that his teeth were itching. Chapter 943. Snake gritted his teeth and said, "I can let go, but if you dare to run, I will immediately use the school's broadcast system to announce that we are cohabiting, and provide the high-definition surveillance footage of us from yesterday afternoon to this morning." After saying that, Snake then tried to let go. Seeing that Gu Mingming really did not want to run, Snake could not help but shake his head in exasperation. Whether it was in the beast world or here, he always had to threaten her with something before she would obediently stay by his side. He could give her the best, so why couldn't she stay by his side and enjoy his love? Why did she have to push him away? Sit down." Snake pointed to the seat beside him. Gu Mingming really wanted to turn around and leave, but firstly she did not dare to cut a kidney to pay for the breach of contract, and secondly she was really afraid that Snake would send out the surveillance footage. Everything else was fine, but the scene of her helping him shave his beard in the washroom yesterday was too ambiguous, and it would be hard for others to explain themselves if they saw it. So Gu Mingming lowered her noble head to reality, and followed Snake's instructions to sit beside him, but half of her butt was suspended in the air. Anyway, she just wanted to try her best to stay as far away from him as possible. Snake was also very helpless against this situation. He knew that his aggressiveness had scared her, but he had already waited long enough. Ever since he came to this world, he had been suppressing the urge to tie her up and imprison her by his side every minute and second. He really could not suppress it any longer now. The closer he was to her, the more he wanted to own her. The door of the cafeteria was pushed open, and a fierce battle over the popular dishes unfolded. However, the flames of war did not spread to their small table. There were no bodyguards or isolation belts, but no one dared to approach here. It was probably the first time the canteen was so quiet since it was opened. Everyone's gazes landed on them as if countless X-rays were shining on them, and they could see even more clearly than when they were naked. "Are you done eating? If you are, then leave quickly." Gu Mingming really could not hold it in any longer. Snake glanced sideways, frowned and asked, "Is my face not good enough?" Gu Mingming was confused, not understanding what Snake meant. Snake asked again, "My figure is not good?" Gu Mingming shook her head instinctively. She still remembered how this fellow had purposely changed his clothes in front of her this morning. Although he had only changed into a shirt, his 8-pack and clear mermaid lines were unforgettable to Gu Mingming, and she almost had a nosebleed. Seeing Gu Mingming shaking her head, not only was Snake not happy, he became even more melancholic. "Then is it because my family background is not good enough? Not rich enough or powerful enough?" He was the CEO of Monster, and he had to clear the entire place just to go shopping. Yesterday he had spent around 2 million on clothes alone. Was he not rich enough? How would Gu Mingming, who had sold herself for a salary of 4,500 a month, feel? As for power, Gu Mingming did not know how much power Snake had, but just by looking at the attitude of the principal and the management towards him today, Gu Mingming could only shake her head again, her expression a little wooden. Snake's frown deepened as he turned around to face Gu Mingming. "Then what's wrong with me? Why don't you like me?" Chapter 944. Snake laughed coldly and said, "No? If you didn't, then why are you unwilling to admit that you are my girlfriend?" Gu Mingming shifted her upper body backwards in an instinctive move and said, "I am not your girlfriend to begin with, how can I admit it?" Snake was afraid that Gu Mingming would fall down again and wanted to reach out to hug her, but seeing her guarded expression, he could only retract his hand and said, "Do you want to sit properly or do you want me to carry you? Choose." Gu Mingming pushed Snake and said, "Then don't lean over." Snake gritted his teeth and returned to his original position. He even purposely distanced himself and glared at Gu Mengmeng. "See, and you still say you don't despise me?" Gu Mengmeng sat up obediently and used her chopsticks to poke at the spaghetti on the plate. She did not dare to look at Snake anymore. This fellow's presence was too strong and it made her heart beat erratically. "I'm not despising you, I just don't like this feeling." Snake smiled and said, "I don't like it." She was referring to the difference in reality. He was a star in the sky, only to be looked up to and worshipped. And she was just a weed on the ground for anyone to trample on. Humans could have dreams. But there should be a limit to dreams. Once it exceeded that limit, it would no longer be a dream but a delusion. Gu Mengmeng did not hate Snake, and it was not that he was not good enough. On the contrary, it was because he was too good, so good that he was perfect and flawless. He was so good that even in her dreams she did not dare to think about it. To her, it was impossible for Snake to like her. At most, it could be that he had eaten too many delicacies and wanted to try the feeling of eating leftovers. And Gu Mengmeng knew that she could not afford to play this game. But Snake did not know about Gu Mengmeng's concerns. He thought that she was referring to the pressure of announcing their relationship in public when she said she did not like this feeling. Snake sighed. He was also very troubled. In the memories he had fused from Gu Mengmeng's mind, there was clearly a scene where a domineering CEO publicly announced that he and the female lead of Cinderella were lovers. Moreover, she had an intense discussion with her roommates, and the final conclusion was that the boy who dared to introduce you to everyone and openly admitted your relationship was the boy who truly loved you. In order to satisfy her girlish heart, he didn't mind the trouble of setting up Monsieur Corporation, just to fulfill her dream of writing, "Overbearing President falls in love with me." But why was her reaction different from what she had said before? Back then, she clearly said that if she was the female lead, she would definitely be so touched that she would propose to the male lead on the spot. Snake frowned and seriously tried to recall which part of the plan went wrong. The moment Snake fell into deep thought, the pressure emanating from his body became even more obvious. Not only was the canteen quiet, some people even started to skip their meals and slipped away, unable to withstand the pressure. Gu Mengmeng sniffled and also felt very uncomfortable, so she forced a topic and said, You are clearly not a mute. Why didn't you open your mouth to speak in the past? Everyone thought you were a mute." Chapter 945. Gu Mengmeng stared blankly at Snake and was stunned for 3 seconds. When she finally reacted to what Snake had just done, her face turned as red as a tomato. Snake looked at her bashful look with a gentle gaze. He raised his palm and said, "Tu Meng, give me your hand and I will answer your question." Gu Mengmeng's brain was in a rush and she had no time to think before she placed her hand into Snake's palm. Snake retracted his fingers and smiled. He liked it when Gu Mengmeng blushed because of him. She was not immune to him, nor did she dislike him. She was just resistant. Resistant for an unknown reason. It was all right. He had the confidence to break through her resistance. She was his and could only be his. Holding on to Gu Mengmeng's little hand, Snake's dark green eyes reflected the sunlight. Tiny light spots shone on Gu Mengmeng's face. His voice was like a gentle spring breeze caressing one's heart, making one's heart flutter. "I don't want the best of me to be wasted by someone who is not important to me. Because everything I have is left for you." Gu Mengmeng's beautiful eyes widened in shock. She stammered and laughed dryly. Ha ha, you don't believe me?" Snake raised his eyebrows and asked, "In the past 19 years, other than you, I have never spoken to any other female, including my biological mother. The number of times I have spoken to men can be counted on one hand. Unless necessary, I will not speak to anyone else." Gu Mengmeng believed in this point. Otherwise, Snake would not have been treated as a mute after entering the school for more than a year. Snake held Gu Mengmeng's hand tightly and said, "I have spoken more to you in the past 2 days than I have in the past 19 years combined." Gu Mengmeng was stunned and did not know how to react. "Do you still not understand? I belong to you and only you. And what belongs to you cannot be wasted on anyone else." Gu Mengmeng did not even know how she finished her meal. Her entire brain was in a state of shutdown. Snake was probably just playing around, right? Then why was he so special to her? He was not lying to her that he never spoke to anyone else. Because not only did the people in school call him the mute school hunk, even when he participated in swimming competitions in the past, none of the reporters could pry a single word out of him. So the whole world thought he was a mute. But this mute suddenly spoke one day and he only spoke to her. Just for fun, that he had planned for 19 years? Gu Mengmeng's heart was touched at that moment. Gu Mengmeng looked up at Snake against the sunlight. She bit her lower lip and asked, Do you like me? Snake laughed. He laughed at Gu Mingming for asking him such a silly question. But if it was something she wanted to hear, he was willing to repeat it 1,000 times a day. I like you. I like you so much that I want to give you the whole world, but it's not enough. I like you. I like you so much that I want to seal myself up and give you a pure me. I like you. I like you so much that even though I'm holding your hand right now, I still miss you. I like you. I like you to the point where I stand in a place where everyone's eyes are on me. Even if I feel uncomfortable, I still stand there just so that you can look at me one more time. I like you. I like you so much that even if I have to abandon the whole world, I want to be your lone hero and protect you for the rest of your life. Then what's your answer? When are you going to start liking me? Digression. Today's update came to an end with Snake's love speech attack. He gave Tu Ming some time to recover. Her heart was beating so fast that she could not reply. Chapter 946. It's not about whether you like me or not, but when did you start liking me? Gu Mingming's mouth twitched. She thought to herself that this god, who usually looked as quiet and unreachable as the celebrities in the posters, actually had such a flirtatious and domineering nature. Why me? Gu Mingming did not understand. With Snake's status, any romantic love story should be between a prince and a princess. Why did it have to be her, who was so insignificant? Snake looked at Gu Mingming for a long time. Suddenly he laughed and asked, "Would you believe me if I said it was predestined?" Gu Mingming was a little disappointed. What era was it now? Predestined? That was such an old joke. Snake chuckled softly and said, "You are the only color in my eyes. Wherever you are, everything else will become the background and passers-by. Other than you, I can't see anyone else. Isn't this predestined?" You are the only color in my eyes. Gu Mingming did not know why, but when she heard this sentence, her heart felt as if it was being poked by someone. She could not tell if it was pain or agitation. Anyway, it was an indescribable pain. So what's your answer? When do you intend to start liking me? Gu Mingming lowered her head and wanted to retract her hand that was being held by Snake. But Snake did not allow her to do so. He just raised his brows and looked at her, as if he would not give up until she gave him an answer. Before yesterday, I did not even know you. I can't say that I like you. Gu Mingming said softly. Snake was helpless. Yeah, he had guarded her for 18 years, but she had never noticed his presence in the crowd. But you have already known me for 29 hours. My wealth, my power, my figure, haven't you checked them all? If there's anything you are not satisfied with, you can tell me. I will definitely satisfy you. Snake's face was serious and did not sound like he was joking at all. Although he didn't know what other people's love was like, there were too many women who wanted to throw themselves at him after just one look at him. If it wasn't for his ruthlessness, he would destroy the whole family of anyone who dared to throw themselves at him. He reckoned that by now, he would have been devoured by those women 800 times over. Other people said that they loved him to death at first sight, but his Tu Ming had already known him for 29 hours. Why didn't she love him? Snake expressed his anxiety and really wanted to crush something to calm his emotions. Every time this happened, he missed Wabi. He was free to be thrown, beaten, kicked. Gu Mingming's heart was even more anxious than Snake's. Have you ever seen anyone say that they liked someone 29 hours after snatching someone's love letter? She did not know if others could do it, but she wailed in her heart, "I can't do it." Looking at Gu Mingming's troubled expression, Snake suppressed the frustration in his heart. In any case, they had officially met, so the position by her side could only be his. He had endured the days of watching her from afar for more than 10 years. In the future, with her accompanying him, what else could he not wait for? With one hand holding Gu Mingming's little hand and the other lifting her chin, Snake stared into Gu Mingming's eyes and said word by word, "You can slowly fall in love with me, I can wait. But remember, in this lifetime, you only have one choice, which is to like me." Off topic. Chapter 947. Alright, accompany me to the club after you're done eating. Snake never let go of Gu Mingming's hand. Gu Mingming wanted to retract her hand a few times, but was frightened by Snake's cold stare. As she was pulled to the entrance of the canteen, Gu Mingming could not help but say, I have lessons in the afternoon." Snake stood still and turned to look at Gu Mingming. Due to his height, he looked like he was looking down on her. With endless pressure, he casually crushed Gu Mingming's lie with one sentence. "I was the one who arranged the timetable for HR. Are you sure you have lessons in the afternoon?" Gu Mingming clearly saw the expression, "You dare to lie to me? Do you want to die?" on Snake's face. Hence, she swallowed her saliva and said, "I don't have lessons." Snake snorted and did not say anything, continuing to walk towards the club. Gu Mingming's legs were shorter than Snake's, so she followed him step by step, pleading continuously, "I'll accompany you to the club, but don't drag me along, it's not good if others see us." When they reached the entrance of the basketball court, Snake finally could not take it anymore. He turned back to look at Gu Mingming, who had been making a fuss the whole way, and asked through gritted teeth, "Am I so shameful? Is it so embarrassing to be involved with me?" Gu Mingming was terrified by Snake's outburst. She shrunk her neck and did not dare to say a word, just looking at Snake pitifully with her big round eyes. Facing her fearful and innocent expression, Snake was at a loss of what to do. He released his hand and threw Gu Mingming onto the coach seat at the side of the court, saying with a cold face, "I'll go change, you sit here and wait." Gu Mingming's little hands regained their freedom, and she immediately put them behind her back, nodding her head to show that she was obedient. Snake was afraid that he would really strangle her to death later, so he turned around and left. But after 2 steps, he suddenly turned back and looked at Gu Mingming, saying, "You, hurry up and give me a status. I don't want to be a wild man." With that, Snake went to the changing room without looking back. Leaving Gu Mingming dumbfounded. What status? What wild man? Why couldn't she understand? University was most famous for its swimming club. Ever since Snakel joined, this club had risen with unstoppable momentum. Within half a year, it had already become the most powerful club in the city. However, following Snake's withdrawal, this association did not have a new capable warrior to replace Snake, so it fell into desolation almost overnight. In response to this, the basketball club, which was originally just a group of unknown boys who got together to play basketball and didn't even participate in any competitions, quickly rose as the swimming club fell into desolation and became a new star among the clubs. Usually, there were only a few boys sweating in the basketball club's activity field. Occasionally they would bring their girlfriends to watch, but at most there would be 2 or 3 kittens. And today, once the news of Snake's participation in the society activity was released, was this a club activity? Are you sure it's not a celebrity meet and greet? The edge of the basketball court was crowded with people, and the banners and lights were shining brightly. If Snake had not brought Gu Mingming to the court in advance, she probably wouldn't have been able to squeeze in even if she wanted to. The moment Snake and the rest of the team members walked out of the changing room after changing, it was as if a cup of water had been poured into a pot of boiling oil. Gu Mingming felt as if her eardrums were about to burst. Chapter 948. To be honest, Gu Mingming had no concept of basketball itself. She barely knew some terms which she learned from Kuriko's basketball. So she actually couldn't understand the intricacies of the competition. She could only understand one thing: Snake was so handsome. Whether it was raising his hand, dribbling the ball, or just running, every move was so damn handsome. There were clearly 10 people competing in 2 teams, but Gu Mingming could only see one Snake. Was this what he meant when he said, "When you appear, everything else becomes background and passers-by BCD"? 29 hours, it seemed like it was enough to like someone? Gu Mingming's heart was pounding. She lowered her head and stared at her toes, feeling as if she had discovered something incredible. Cheers erupted from the court. Gu Mingming looked up and saw that the winner had been decided. Regardless of who won or lost, both parties had a carefree smile on their faces. They did not seem to care too much about the outcome and just enjoyed the process of playing to their heart's content. Snake took a step forward and stood in front of Gu Mingming. He stretched out his hand and said, "Water." Gu Mingming passed the mineral water beside her to Snake in a daze. Snake twisted open the bottle cap and poured the water over his head to cool down his body. He did not like basketball as it was too intense and he would sweat too much. In comparison, he felt more at ease in the water. But he realized that when they were playing basketball just now, Gu Mingming's gaze towards him was filled with obvious admiration and adoration. So, even though he was dealing with a bunch of stupid humans, as long as she liked it, he would do it. After Snake poured the water over his body did cool down, but the crowd became rowdy. The girls' screams were deafening and the 3D encircling "Snake, I want to give birth to monkeys for you" continuously hovered above the basketball court. So annoying, so noisy. Snake pinched Gu Mingming's little face with one hand and squeezed her mouth into a fish's mouth. He then lowered his head and directly kissed her lips. So sweet. His mood improved and he could no longer hear the noise in his ears. After kissing for a long time, when both of them had difficulty breathing, Snake finally released Gu Mingming's blushing face. As expected, only you can make me feel better. Gu Mingming finally snapped out of her trance after hearing Snake's words. She pushed Snake away and stood up. This is my first kiss. Even though it was an accusation, it sounded especially pleasant to Snake's ears. The corners of his lips widened and his eyes were filled with a complacent and doting smile. He said, I know, me too. You. Gu Mingming was embarrassed and angry. Why don't I let you kiss me back? Snake moved his lips forward again, looking like he was letting her do whatever she wanted. Seeing that Gu Mingming was about to turn around and run, he pulled her into his arms with his large hands. Pressing his lips against Gu Mingming's ear, he smiled and said, You've already kissed me, shouldn't you give me a status now? Gu Mingming was extremely embarrassed and could not say a word. If they admitted that they were boyfriend and girlfriend, then giving their first kiss to their first love seemed very beautiful. But how could he admit it? Gu Mingming was suddenly at a loss. Chapter 949. Promise him. Promise him. Promise him. The members of the basketball team jeered and Gu Mingming's face turned red, but she still nodded her head slightly. Snake heaved a long sigh of relief. He suddenly felt that these stupid humans were not completely useless. At least they knew how to help him lighten the mood at crucial moments. Seeing that they had added fuel to the fire to get Tuming to give him a status, he would treat them better. Snake stood up and pulled Gu Mingming into his arms. He heaved a long sigh of relief. Tuming, you are finally mine. Gu Mingming knew that her nod meant that she had a boyfriend. Something like a boyfriend, she should be able to hug him, right? Her small hands wrapped around Snake's waist timidly. It felt good. Snake's waist turned numb and his entire body trembled. In both his past and present lives, this was the first time Tuming had taken the initiative to hug him. Unable to vent the boiling emotions in his heart, Snake lowered his head and kissed Gu Mingming's lips deeply, pouring all his tenderness into her. Until Gu Mingming almost suffocated, Snake then released her reluctantly. He chuckled. I will accompany you in your first awakening of love, and in the future, I will accompany you until your hair turns gray. I only exist because of you. So Tuming, since you want me, you must not abandon me. Do you remember? Gu Mingming nodded, her heart itching. She knew that she did not have deep feelings for Snake, but she liked him. She liked how he protected her in his palms and carried her in his heart. His dominance and everything about him could only belong to her alone. This feeling of being cherished and cared for made Gu Mingming sink into it. She could not resist it. She knew that there were some gaps that could not be crossed. For example, identity, status and family background. But before they had no choice but to separate, she wanted to cherish this one-sided love. She wanted to enjoy all the warmth he gave and reciprocate all the sincerity he had. After the club activities ended, the team leader led his men to clear the area. He asked all the girls who had broken up today to leave the basketball court. He then walked to Snake and wanted to put his hand on his shoulder. But he did not have the guts. So he stood in front of Snake and Gu Mingming and rubbed his hands. Our basketball club has never been so glorious. Snake, you are really too awesome. Let's go to a karaoke tonight as a welcome party for you. How about it? Snake looked down at Gu Mingming with a doting expression. Do you want to go? Gu Mingming instinctively wanted to shake her head, but the captain waved Erkong's hand and said, Junior, basketball is a sport that emphasizes teamwork. Mutual understanding and trust are very important. Snake just joined us today, he needs to cultivate his relationship with us. What's more, today is your first day of love, you should celebrate it no matter what, right? This right was obviously directed at Snake. It had to be said that the second half of the captain's sentence was very accurate. The confirmation of his relationship with Tuming was a cause for celebration. Gu Mingming saw that Snake's lips were already curling up, so she nodded and said, All right, then let's go together. That day at the KTV, everyone was having a wild time, but Snake just sat quietly and watched Gu Mingming, who was fooling around with everyone with a smile on his lips. Chapter 950. Everyone took turns to sing a few rounds of songs. Some sang in different accents, while some sang with deep emotions. The last one was Snake. The team leader said that as long as Snake sang one song, today's event would end successfully. If he didn't sing, his and Gu Mingming's good days would not be complete. Gu Mingming's eyes lit up. Snake did not believe in superstitions. As long as he was around, who could stop him and Tuming from being complete? He did not like to put himself in a position for others to entertain. Previously, Participating in swimming competitions was already his limit. If not for the fact that he wanted Tu Ming to have an early impression of him, even if it was just to look at him in the newspapers, he would not do such a thing. Now that his relationship with Tu Ming was confirmed, he did not need to do such foolish things. His Tu Ming would always be watching over him. But he could not resist Tu Ming's expectant gaze. Thinking that this bunch of idiots had added fuel to the fire and helped him today, he nodded and pulled Tu Ming into his arms. They sat on the sofa and sang, 123 I Love You. After singing, Snake immediately stood up and left the KTV with Gu Mingming in his arms. Everyone was not used to his style of doing things, but they did not mind too much. After all, he was already famous in the school when he was in the swimming club. Being able to hear a mute sing a song today was already enough to give them face. Therefore no one cared about whether A wanted to go Dutch or not. The captain generously said that he would pay the bill, but when he went to the cashier to pay, he was told that half an hour ago, the KTV had changed owners, and the new owner's first order was that their private rooms were free of charge, and they could eat and play as they pleased. So, the team members went back and partied through the night. On the other side, Gu Mingming and Snake returned to the villa. They had just closed the door when Snake pressed Gu Mingming against the wall and kissed her deeply. There was a night light in the house. It was orange in color and the light was hazy and ambiguous. Gu Mingming did not know what to do. Gu Mingming's face was extremely red and her heart was beating wildly. If this level of heartbeat was due to a little deer bumping around, Gu Mingming was very worried about the little deer. It would probably die from the bumping. Snake's voice was hoarse as he asked softly with a single sound. We just confirmed our relationship today, the progress shouldn't be too fast. Gu Mingming curled up and lowered her head. Ha! Snake chuckled. Fast? He had waited 1,000 years in the beast world to meet her, and after reincarnating, he had waited a full 19 years to hold her in his arms. Not only was it not fast, it was simply too slow. However, he had no intention of scaring her. Although he desperately desired her, he wanted to save the best for the day they got married. He didn't want her life to have any more imperfections. She had suffered for 18 years. It was enough. In the future, with him protecting her, she could only be happy. But before that, there was something he needed to take care of. He lightly touched Gu Mingming's little nose and said, You're my girlfriend. Can't I kiss you when we're deeply in love? No. Gu Mingming was not referring to this. She just felt that he wanted to do something else after kissing her. Then you can kiss me? Snake did not wait for Gu Mingming to finish her sentence. He pecked her on the lips again and said, Good girl. Gu Mingming felt an indescribable sweetness growing in her heart when she was being praised in such a childish tone. She did not say anything and just smiled. Since Tu Ming wants to be a good girl, then this matter. Shouldn't you give me an explanation? With that, Snake took out an envelope from his pocket. There was a heart-shaped sticker on the envelope. The sticker was slightly raised and it was obvious that it had been opened. That was the love letter she used to confess to the captain of the basketball team yesterday morning? Digression, Gu Mingming thought. You have to maintain your persona, old brother. Settling scores after the fall is not suitable for you. Chapter 951. The white fog gathered again as if that screen had never appeared. Gu Mingming held her forehead as she looked at the beast deity. Why do I feel like I will be taught a terrible lesson by Snake? The beast deity chuckled. I feel the same way too. Gu Mingming was speechless. It was not her fault for handing the love letter to the basketball club senior. She did not even remember him. So I forget it. She could not help her past self even if she screamed till her throat broke. Anyway, she was such a coward. As long as she admitted her mistake and acted cute, Snake would not strangle her to death. Turning her head, Gu Mingming adjusted her expression. Papa, I have finished watching the television series. The beast deity nodded. Do you want to watch the next episode? Gu Mingming rolled her eyes. Don't act like you don't understand. Give me your pocket money. The beast deity rubbed his nose and laughed dryly. What do I want this time? Tell me. Gu Mingming thought for a moment. I am going to find the soul of the forest. Is there anything I cannot handle and need to prepare in advance? The beast deity thought for a moment. No. Gu Mingming nodded. Then when can Wabi be sent to Snake's side? Can you tell me now? The beast deity shook his head. Gu Mingming dusted her butt and stood up. Alright, I won't ask for pocket money this time. I will just treat it as a filial daughter accompanying you to watch the television series. The beast deity gave a benevolent and kind smile. Were you provoked by Wabi's words? Gu Mingming did not deny it. I have lacked a father's love since I was young. Actually, I do not know how to interact with a father. Although you look more like a brother than a father, but based on the fact that you are a deity, I will not be presumptuous enough to ask your age. Well, I still have to thank you for acting as my father. Accompanying you to watch television series, it can be considered as me enjoying the familial love of my parents. In the future, I will try my best to come back to accompany you, if you are not busy. The beast deity nodded with a smile. You are always welcome home. Gu Mingming waved her hand and turned to walk into the white fog. After the expected free fall, Gu Mingming opened her eyes and saw 3 furry little heads squeezing onto her. He raised his hand and touched them one by one before Huda and his brothers ran off happily. Elvis helped Gu Mingming up from behind and used his chest to let her lean against him. He brought a bowl of clear and sweet water to Gu Mingming's lips and fed her while saying, "It's raining heavily now, so we found a temporary cave to hide in. We will continue our journey after 2 more days when the weather clears up." Gu Mingming nodded. During the monsoon season it would either not rain, or once it did, it would last for 10 days to half a month. It was indeed not a good time to travel. If it was just her, Elvis, Leah and Wabia, it would be fine. But the problem was that she had 3 sons and she could not bear for them to suffer with her. Thinking of her sons, Gu Mingming turned to look at her 3 beast-like sons. Frowning, she asked, "What happened to the 3 of them? Why are you in your beast form?" Elvis chuckled and asked, "Don't you feel that they are different?" Chapter 952. Elvis patted Huda's head and said, "Leader, begin." Huda nodded his head, while Jianghu and Xuanhuan took 2 steps back, feeling a little eager to give it a try. Then Huda slowly transformed into a human in front of Gu Mingming. But, this height, Gu Mingming suddenly sat up straight, unable to hide the surprise on her face. She was overjoyed to see this graceful young man in front of her. The immaturity of a 6 or 7-year-old had faded away, and the current Huda was like Xianxia, like a 17 or 18-year-old youth. Elvis threw a piece of beast skin to him, and Huda tied a simple beast skin skirt around his waist. He took 2 steps forward and said, "Mummy, I have evolved into a first-level orc." Gu Mingming held Huda's face with both hands, feeling so relieved that she was about to cry. Her son had grown up, and although he did not have elegant clothes, he still looked like a gentle young master. The corners of his eyes and the tips of his brows were steady and reserved, and his exquisite facial features looked as if they were carved. He was resolute but not fierce, and belonged to the kind of warm man that people would feel was reliable and upright at one glance. "Congratulations, my baby." Huda smiled and retreated to the side. Jianghu took 2 steps forward and placed his front paw on Gu Mingming's knee. Then he slowly transformed. When he turned into a human, he knelt on one knee and placed both hands on Gu Mingming's leg. He looked up at Gu Mingming with a smile on his lips, perfectly curved, and a pair of eyes that looked exactly like Gu Mingming's, glowing with amber light. Jianghu was different from Huda. Even if he was intentionally smiling so harmlessly, he still exuded a bad boy vibe. He was the kind of person who walked through the mortal world without a speck of dust. When faced with an innocent girl's confession, he would accept the love letter with a smile and say, "Miss, you are so pure, why do you want to get involved with me?" He clearly had a face full of sunshine, but no one would believe that he was really harmless. If he was in school, he would probably become the public enemy of all the boys in school. "Mummy, I have also evolved into a first-level orc." Gu Mingming rubbed her son's head and smiled. My son is really handsome." Elvis threw a piece of beast skin to Jianghu, and as he tied it he asked, "Between me and Xianxia, who is more handsome?" Gu Mingming chuckled. "All handsome. My sons are equally handsome." Jianghu did not buy it and pouted, "Forget it, I will not make things difficult for mother to lie. Xuanhuan's face is indeed blessed by the heavens. If not for the fact that they were born together, I would have suspected that he is Father Li's son." Elvis's face darkened. Did this mean that Leah was more handsome than him? Jianghu's gaze turned towards Elvis. Seeing that his face had darkened, the corners of his lips curled up in satisfaction. After all, he would have to move out after he became an adult. There wouldn't be many opportunities for him to cause trouble in the future. Jianghu took 2 steps back to make room for Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan shook the fur on his body and slowly transformed into his human form. He was half a head taller than his 2 brothers and was at least 1.9 to 2 meters tall, almost as tall as Elvis. He and Huda were the complete opposite of each other. His eyebrows were like swords and his eyes were like stars. His features were sharp, and even though he was still immature, he exuded a hint of heroism. It had to be said that even though Xianhu and Elvis were like fire and water, but just based on looks alone he resembled Elvis the most. Without waiting for Elvis to throw the beast's skin over, Xianhu pulled a piece of beast skin and tied it around his waist. He smiled. "Mummy, we have all evolved into first-level orcs. We can protect you better in the future." Aside from the topic. Chapter 953. Gu Mingming was extremely touched, but her heart ached at the same time. She remembered that Elvis had said that he had to go through all those hardships to reach adulthood at the age of 1. But her sons, back then, the 3 little ones had forcefully broken through to become half-orcs because of Ellie's provocation. It was like pulling up seedlings to help them advance, and it was very taxing on their bodies. Leah had also said that most children would reach adulthood at 2 or 3 years old, and the 3 brothers would only be able to accumulate enough energy to advance when they were 4 or 5 years old. But now, why did all 3 of her sons advance when she woke up from her sleep? Wabi, who had gone out to hunt, walked in through the rain. His tail was wrapped around 5 to 6 prey. They had died so horribly that their original faces could not be recognized. In the past, Gu Mingming would have screamed in fear. But after having Snake's memories. Seeing that Gu Mingming had woken up, Wabi was slightly surprised. He threw the prey to one side and transformed back into human form. He moved closer to Gu Mingming and asked, "What did your father say?" Gu Mingming shook her head. "I can't say." Wabi sighed. This was the 3rd time he had heard this sentence and he was already used to it. Then he asked, "What about him? Is he all right?" Gu Mingming chuckled. "Yeah, I got what I wanted." Wabi raised his brows. "Did he take you down?" The moment he asked that, Elvis and Leah tensed up. Gu Mingming could clearly see their ears pricking up. They were obviously waiting for Gu Mingming's reply. Gu Mingming chuckled and nodded. "He is over there. He has confirmed his relationship with the other me." Lee's face darkened. He walked to Gu Mingming's side and asked plaintively, "He is your boyfriend?" Gu Mingming wanted to say that it was not her, but on second thought, it was clearly her. So she nodded, admitting it. Lee's expression was grave. His eyes were filled with resentment. "Then what about me, you?" Gu Mingming did not understand. Leah said, "Elvis is your husband and I am your boyfriend. Now that Snake has snatched away my boyfriend status, what should I do?" Gu Mingming burst out laughing and said, "He is my boyfriend in another dimension, not the me in front of you." Leah said, "That won't do either. Go and tell father-in-law to break them up." A gust of cold air blew over. Wabi was already in a position to attack Leah. Gu Mingming glared at Wabi. "How dare you touch my man? I will turn you into snake soup." Without waiting for Wabi to retort, Gu Mingming held Lee's face and kissed him. "You have long been my partner. Why are you still fighting for the boyfriend title?" Leah completely ignored Wabi. Indeed, he could not defeat him in a fight, but he had no intention of competing with that dumb snake. Right now, he was more concerned about his status by Gu Mingming's side, so he waved his furry tail and wrapped it around Gu Mingming's waist, stuffing it into her arms. He hugged Gu Mingming from behind so that her back was completely pressed against his chest. He rested his chin on her smooth shoulder and said, "Mingming, I want a status, a unique one." Wabi's eyes widened in shock. Gu Mingming took a deep breath and asked, "Hubby, how is it?" Leah was stunned for 2 seconds before asking, "What do you mean?" Gu Mingming said, "That was how partners were addressed in the early days. You're tuning in to this Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.